So we now move on to the second type of peace. So negative peace, okay, which is the cessation of violence, the immediate cessation of the physical violence that we see in wars or conflict, but not the cessation at the root level, at the positive level. That is negative. But then we move to positive peace. What essentially are we dealing with when we move positive peace? What we're looking at with reference to positive peace, in contrast to negative peace, positive is a more ambitious and holistic concept. It refers to the presence of social systems and attitudes that foster harmony and cooperation, okay, and equity. You know, that means at the very foundational root, positive peace is when instruments, structure have been put in play that will prevent outbreak, conflict. Now, in contrast to negative peace, we see that physical violence have been prevented, but the causative factors are still there. They are still in play. They are still very much alive. So, but for positive peace to be present, okay, we must have the sense of structural violence. Those structural, institutional issues that are in place that either have the propensity, the capacity to lead to violence, to discontent of the people. If those things are absent, then we can say that we have positive peace. That means we're looking at positive peace. So positive peace is not just the absence of war. It's not just the absence, okay, of the physical conflict which we spoke about in negative peace, but it is the flourishing, okay, the prospering of the human condition, the shifting of the human condition from one level, of flourishing to another level, not a degradation of the human condition in which we are trying to resolve the conflicts therein. What are the pillars of positive peace? When we're looking at the pillars of positive, one of the most important pillars of positive peace is what I said when I mentioned structural violence. What is structural violence? Violence that is structural is the kind of violence that is infused inside of the systems that control the activities and the lives of men, the government, the economy, the society. These structures that are encased in these concepts that I just mentioned now, how are they dealing with the human being? How are they dealing with the human being? When we saw structural adjustment in the 80s, an adjustment of the structure of the economy of Nigeria, was that structural adjustment at peace with the human condition of Nigerians or at war with the human condition of Nigerians? That's where you now see the manifestation of violence through structural processes against the human being. Many of us who were young in the 80s can testify to the fact that there was structural violence in the economy. The economy began to wane. The economy began to squeeze the ordinary man. These are the things that when they are present, they lead to conflict. Remember, we said negative peace is when there's a cessation of violence, physical violence. But then underneath, there is structural violence. There are things within the structure of the economy, polity, or society that can aggravate the existence, the engagement, okay, of people and shift them towards violence. So structural violence, the absence of structural violence is number one when you are dealing with positive peace, when you are trying to understand positive peace. Number two, social justice. Is there equitability? Is there access to equitable opportunities for all members of the society? When there's an absence of social justice, you know that there's a problem. The absence of social justice has given room for structural violence to become embedded in that society. And this can now afford the opportunity for violence to break out. We have seen this happen in Niger Delta when the structure, the economic structure in place, or let's say the political structures in place for sharing of resources has not been equitable. There's no equitability there. We have seen that result into violence. So even as we speak now, in certain communities in Nigeria, even Nigeria as a whole, let's remove the terrorism, the banditry, and so on. Remove that. The fact that there's not an all-out outbreak of civil war doesn't mean that there's peace. There is negative peace in Nigeria now. So, with reference to, let's say, civil war, for instance, the fact that we don't have a civil war, it's not because there's positive peace, because there's negative peace. And negative peace is essentially the negation of some of these issues that I've just raised now. If those things are negated in the structure of society, it is negative peace that is present, not positive peace. So for positive peace to flourish, those things must be present. There must be an absence of structural balance. There must be presence of social justice. Number three, good governance. Good governance. The rule of law, transparent institutions, and accountability that build public trust must be present in the society in order for positive peace to prosper. For positive peace to be present in that society, you must have this. It must be present there in order for positive peace to be present. All of us can testify to the impact that a lack of good governance, a lack of a rule of law, we can testify to how that can impact on peace as a whole. As historians, some of us point to the fact that when the government was engaging with Boko Haram, the use of extreme force, extrajudicial killings, may have in one way or the other escalated the transfiguration, or should I say uh, the change, the transformation of an extreme or conservative religious group into a terrorist group like Boko Haram. How did government engage? The engagement of government, good governance, is critical, okay, to the preservation of positive peace, such that positive peace should not denigrate into negative peace. That's critical. Then number three, you now have human rights. Protection of civil, political, economic, and cultural rights of every individual must be present in the society in order for positive peace to reside. It must be there. If it is not there, then there is a problem. Because it is individual human beings that make up the society that eventually take hold of political or economic means to create peace. So if the individuals themselves, okay, do not have their rights protected, then the likelihood of them being at war with the society, with the government, is very high because of their human rights that are being oppressed. So this must be present at the foundation of society in order to foster positive peace. Then number five, sorry. Conflict resolution mechanisms must be present. You don't have You know, a conflict doesn't have to erupt first, okay, before we now begin to uh, engage with conflict resolution. There must be conflict prevention. The presence of functional non-violent means to address grievances, okay, must be present. Functional non-violent means of addressing grievances. Okay, there must be an independent judiciary. Okay, there must be, a manner of engaging with justice that the various sections of the society feel that their rights have not been violated. Okay, now, these are the things that once they are in place, they foster positive peace, they encourage positive peace, so that positive peace can now prevent a regression of society into negative peace, whereby tension is boiling underneath. Tension is boiling underneath. We're just waiting for it to explode. That's negative peace. So once these things are in place, it prevents the deterioration of society into negative peace. And then that now regresses further into open violence. So a society can start from having positive peace. And if these things are not put in place, they are not maintained and sustained, then that society can denigrate from positive peace to negative peace, whereby there's tension underneath, okay, dissatisfaction, okay, underneath. And then eventually further denigrate and regress to open violence, whereby conflict, okay, now explodes. And then that society is now, that society now converges into open conflict, whereby people begin to die, infrastructure is destroyed, so on and so forth. So we need to understand, okay, the interdependence and the relationship between these two forms of peace, so as to be able to understand peace properly, not just understanding peace, in a narrow sense, but understanding peace in a more structured and um, um, in a more structured way that can help us apply the knowledge on the field as practitioners, of peace building and peace studies. That is very, very important.